Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this kind of different episode of the Fourth Long Radio. This is not our weekly show, but instead, we're bringing you a special end of the end of the decade show. So we all know 2020 is upon us, and this whole past 10 years, there's been a lot of crazy sports moments, and so we figured that we give our top five lists to each of you guys. All right. You ready for this, Jalen?
Hell yeah.
All right. And so I'm going to actually have you start with your fifth favorite sports movies of the decade. Just before we start, this is not maybe the biggest moments. It's some of that, but it's also personally our favorite moments of the decade.
Yeah, so a lot of the moments here obviously are going to be like what it meant to sports. Some of it's more what it meant to us instead of what it meant just to the world of sports and their individual sports.
So what's your first one, Jalen?
All right, so my number 5 is a really personal one for me. It was the Nigerian dominance in UFC so far this year. It was crazy to see because Africa at the beginning of this year had 0 champs and now has 2 to end the decade. Right now, Nigeria has 2 champions. The first one at welterweight is Kamaru Usman. He's dominated. Everyone's seen it. He just had his fight with Colby Covington. Broke his jaw, which is crazy.
Literally shut him the fuck up.
Literally shut him up. And it was a great fight. I'll give it. Colby is tough. Colby is definitely tough. But it was a great fight by him. Israel Adesanya won his belt. Whew, that was crazy. the way he the way he dominated Robert Whitaker was absolutely crazy and unexpected. I did not expect anybody to handle the middleweight champion Robert Whitaker like that and knocked him out like that. He didn't just win by points. He knocked him out, like ended it. No question, no controversy. Knocked him out and had an amazing fight with Kevin Gastelum earlier this year also. Crazy
5 round
fight,
spectacular.
and he could have easily have that fight could have easily been ended in that 5th round. And then we have a couple of up and comers like Sadiq Yusuf, who are definitely going to make an impact at some point. But yeah, it's just been great to see Africa, Nigeria specifically, making an impact in the UFC.
All right, I can deal with that. My fifth favorite personally was seeing the Cubs finally win the World Series in 2016 after 108 years.
That's
a long ass time.
That's a long time.
I have a couple friends who are Cubs fans, so it was I felt good for them because they've been struggling for generations. No one's seen a good Cubs team, so it felt good for them. It was really cool to see that whole city go crazy, but also at the end of the day, it was just a really good series. The Cubs coming down to down 3-1. That seventh game was crazy with the rain stoppage, and then the Cubs coming back to win that game 7 against the Indians. Seeing LeBron super disappointed because he wasn't in attendance at that game.
Mm.
Hey, LeBron also makes a list at some point. In
At
this
some
one.
point.
But man, that was just a huge moment in baseball, and it was cool to watch history like that.
It's great to watch history. This decade, just in general, before we keep
Historical.
going throughout this decade has been amazing for sports. It has changed sports entirely, flipped it on its head. So it's definitely been a great decade, and I'm glad that we get to talk about our personal top of the decade.
Yeah, it was. What was your number 4 then?
My number 4 was actually basketball related. It was a March Madness when Loyola Chicago, the Cinderella team of March Madness a couple years ago, they made it to the Final Four. They didn't win, but they
Imagine if they did.
no, if they did, they had a chance too. They really had a chance, and it's just every single March Madness, you always hope for that Cinderella story, but they usually fiddle out. Like this, usually they win that first game, and then after that, they get destroyed by a better team.
Yeah.
They made it to the Final Four.
As
They
a
were
16th
one
seed.
game away.
Who does that?
Yeah, exactly. As a 16th seed, they just weren't like a 8th seed or something like that who just happened to slip by. They were the 16th seed and took out a first seed, and after that, they now take over the first seed's path to the championship, and they almost did it. They almost did it.
They
It
got
was
close,
amazing
man.
to
They
see.
got damn close.
Damn close. And I was really pulling for them just to see the Cinderella story finally came true.
I dig it. My fourth favorite moment of the decade came in 2014, and this was during the Sochi Winter Olympic Games. The Olympic Games is a whole shit show, but if we're just looking at this one moment, that was when the TJ Oshie shootout in the qualifying rounds with the U.S. versus Russia.
U.S. tries to put the pressure on.
This game 3-2 after 8 rounds of a shootout, and this is one of my favorite things that I got lucky. I was able to watch it live. TJ Oshie put all the entire population of the United States on his back. He scored, I believe it was 3 times in 8 rounds. But a couple times he had to score to keep the shootout going, and that was. Man, I get some patriotic ass goosebumps right now.
Patriotic goosebumps.
Because TJ Oshie put the whole country on his back, and he beat the beast in the east.
The beast.
Damn Russians. Fucking Russians. Yeah, fuck you, Putin.
USA.
Come for me, Putin. I dare you.
USA.
You ain't got shit on me.
USA. He has nukes.
I don't care.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything on you now, but
I'm
when
okay
he
with
drops a
dying.
nuke, they'll...
But yeah, TJ Oshie, huge moment in the Olympics. Big ass 3-2 win. And it was just a really long, really nerve-wracking shootout. It was nice to see them win. Nice to see him point to Jonathan Quick over there in the U.S. goal as soon as he put the last goal in. Because Jonathan Quick, you can't overlook his performance for being able to keep it going for 8 rounds.
Yeah, definitely. He kept it consistent and just dominant.
Yeah, he did. Let's move on to number 3, Jalen.
My number 3, moving over to football, was Ray Lewis's goodbye tour. For his last season with the Baltimore Ravens before retiring, which is pretty much every single football player wants to go out. Peyton Manning got to go out this way too, winning the Super Bowl.
Mention that.
Yeah. Winning the Super Bowl. Ray Lewis won the Super Bowl in his last season in Baltimore.
You can't do much better than
injured
that.
and battered up. He fought that season. That wasn't just a simple goodbye season. A lot of players in there like goodbye season. It's kind of just a laid back year. You know, you're playing football. Obviously, it's not 100% laid back, but you don't really go too many injuries. You're just kind of playing, and then you realize, I don't want to do this anymore. Ray Lewis went through hell for that final season. He could have hung it up at any point before that season, during that season, before playoffs, and it was just amazing. Went to the Super Bowl, got to play against the Niners in that Super Bowl, which we might get a rematch of that this year.
Maybe.
So that would be a good one.
I saw a preview earlier.
Yeah, definitely. So that was definitely beautiful. Ray Lewis got to do his little dance to the last time in the home stadium. That was beautiful. And then just winning the Super Bowl, going out like that for an amazing player, it was definitely beautiful to see.
Yeah, no, I really agree. That was one hell of a moment right there for the Ravens and for the Hall of Famer, Ray Lewis. My number 3 was one that was my one basketball entry on the list. And this was the Cavs coming back from being down 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors and winning that series in 2016 NBA season. Man. Yeah, LeBron finally giving a trophy back to Cleveland.
Yeah.
His home city.
Well
He left them for a little bit. Then he came back. He went from having the whole city wanting him to die to the whole city wanting him to be their king.
Yeah. Pretty much.
But I mean, that series itself was amazing. It wasn't even the implications of Cleveland, the city of Cleveland, getting their first title. It was just
how they did it.
It was a damn good series. That Game 7 was unreal with the LeBron James shot block.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving with the dagger 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole it was also fuck Golden State. It was nice to see them lose.
Well, was that the year they blew that 3-1 lead?
Yeah, that
was.
We got a couple 3-1 blown leads on my list.
Yeah.
One more as well.
Yeah, fuck you, Ross.
This is number 2 is going to be great.
Yeah.
But that whole series had giant implications. It was nice to see LeBron finally get his championship. Might get another this season, and we'll see. They're not even the best. No, they're not a championship team. They're not even the best team in their own city.
Not anymore.
0-2 against the Clippers.
0-2.
Fuck you, Lakers. Let's go on into our number 2 now.
My number 2 has something to do with Ross's number 2, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But my number 2 is the 2018 season for the Golden Knights.
Your first real year as a hockey fan.
Yeah, my first real year. It was kind
bitch.
of I wanted to get into hockey, but I didn't really know what team to choose. And then Ross is like, there's a new team coming up. They're probably gonna lose a lot, but you can at least learn hockey while they learn how to play. And I said, okay, I'll be a Vegas Golden Knights fan. And in our first season, make it all the way to the Stanley Cup, making it the first round through San Jose, who is now bitter rivals. Great to see. And
I'll kick your ass. One person. I can fight you now.
But it was
fucking knife?
It was amazing, seeing a team that was literally just created and just thrown together.
That's never happened before, and that
Ever.
will probably never happen again.
Never. They hold pretty much every single record for a new team in the league.
They do hold every record
For every
It's
expansion.
besides losses.
Exactly. They hold the record. Every single record for an expansion team that you could have in your first season, they broke that record. And then made it to the Stanley Cup, which a lot of teams haven't done in years.
The Sharks have done it twice, I think, in 25 years.
And they made it in their first season, which was beautiful for me to see. I cried. I cried when we made it. That was beautiful to see. And I feel like that made me love hockey. I was still kind of getting into it. I was watching almost every game that season, expecting us to lose or fiddle out at some point. I thought it was kind of just, beginner's
That's what
luck.
the whole country was thinking.
Yeah, beginner luck type stuff. And they pushed on, and it was beautiful to see. I'm definitely going to be a Vegas Knights fan for forever.
I'm definitely going to hate you forever.
Yeah, I'm
Fuck
definitely
the
going to
Knights.
fuck the Sharks. And that's
Fuck
just how we do.
you.
And I don't know
Well-
if you guys have seen it, but you can go to our Instagram and our Twitter and see our pictures from the Vegas Golden Knights versus San Jose game that we also went to about a week ago. Great game.
Yeah, it was. I like this for my number 2. I prefer this version of the Sharks and Knights rivalry. So we all know it was recent. So it was only in 29. It was this year when it happened earlier this year, but it's still one of the biggest moments of the decade for me. And this was when the San Jose Sharks win Game 1, first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, playing the Knights again. They win the first game. Then they go on to lose the next 3. And I was feeling good after the first one, but then they lost the second one. I was like, oh, shit. Lost the third one, and I was like, okay, it's over. Lost the fourth one. I'm like, oh, okay, it's definitely fucking over. Then the Sharks go. They win Game 5 at home. Yeah, Tomas Hertl's amazing speech saying that they're not done yet. They'll be back in San Jose. And then you go on to Game 6. And that was, I know you watched that one. That was a nerve-wracking game. Went
that
to
was
double overtime.
double overtime.
Plenty of chances and for either teams in the first one. Then you had, in double overtime, about little ways in, you had the Sharks have a minor penalty. 2 minutes, go on the Knights go on the power play. I'm like, it's definitely fucking over now. A 5-on-4 in overtime, it's over. Then you had Tomas Hertl breaking down the left side of the ice. He just puts one on net. And it goes past Fleury somehow, and the Sharks advance to Game 7 some fucking how.
Somehow.
It's the luckiest run I've ever seen. And then you go in Game 7. Sharks end 10 minutes, 54 or around the 11-minute mark of the third period. The Sharks is down 3-0, and then the whole series changed when Joe Pavelski took a questionable game misconduct penalty against him, got cross-checked and then hit to the ground, hit his head really bad, cut him up. He ended up having a really bad concussion. He was out for a week or so. And then they give 5 minutes, game misconduct. Sharks go on the power play, still down 3-0.
Before I let Ross finish, though, I would just like to say fuck you to the NHL. And in my opinion, I think it should be a rule that plays like that can be questionable.
You want to be able to review penalties?
Review penalties, and just in all, I hate that NFL, NBA, NHL, bad plays or bad calls are made, and then afterwards they apologize.
Just don't apologize.
Yeah, either don't apologize or make a rule to where it could help the team out. Because when you say "my bad, we screwed you,"
yeah, but moving on from that, let's keep the hype train rolling. Yeah, 10 minutes and 54 seconds left when the first faceoff happened. The Sharks score within the first minute. to make the game 3-1. Then they score again, 3-2. Then they score again to tie the game. And then you had, I believe it was Logan Couture that he either tied the game or he took the lead when the Sharks put up 4 goals in 5 minutes to take the lead. So I was going crazy. I had no fucking idea how this was even happening. I was waking up my entire dorm room because this was like 11 o'clock at night for me. And I was yelling my fucking ass off because I didn't know what the fuck to do. And then, but then the Knights down 4-3. In the last minute of the game, I think they score within like the last 10 seconds. They pull the goalie and then they tie the game up, send it to overtime. And then in overtime, the first one, about halfway through, you had Barclay Goodrow go on, one-on-one, beats the defender, toe drags across the goal line, and just pokes it past Fleury. And the Sharks come back down 3-1, through overtimes. They were down 3-0 with 10:54 left to go in Game 7, and they fucking win on home ice. That whole place went fucking crazy. I get goosebumps just by thinking about it now.
I don't.
After seeing that goal go in, I legit just laid on the floor in motionless for 5 minutes. I just didn't know what my brain broke.
I wrote a very strongly worded letter to the NHL that day.
Did you?
I never sent it out because I would have been sent to a mental institution.
But that was one of the craziest things I've seen in my entire life. But so before we move on to number ones, let's get an honorable mention there. You got one?
Yeah. Let me grab my honorable mention. My honorable mention ended up not making the list just because I started putting more personal stuff on the list for me. But I do think it could have easily been in my top 2. Was the Iron Bowl Kick 6, Alabama versus Auburn, and easily the game from this year could have easily been the replacement because it was just as insane.
The Iron Bowl's always good.
The Iron Bowl's always good, but like a couple seconds left on the clock. I forget how many exactly. I think it was about 2-3 seconds left on the clock. Alabama goes for the long 50-plus yard field goal, kicks it up, barely misses it, just not enough. And in the back, Davis catches it.
Maybe there's a chance they do something.
He might just run it, and he's probably going to get tackled. Runs down the sideline, gets a block, and just starts screaming down the sideline. And then, for some reason, just in everyone's head was, someone's going to get him. There's no way he runs this back.
Right.
And then, for a second, I thought he was about to step out of bounds because, he's kind of tight roping it.
Oh, yeah.
Then he cuts back down for the middle of the field, and you realize there is nobody in front of him. Nobody in front of him.
And surrounded by a convoy.
And surrounded
players too.
by, not even just small, there were big dudes blocking for him.
And they took that shit all the way back.
It would have took a missile.
Alabama's hopes.
Yeah, it would have took a missile to get to
So
that
it was nice to
fortress
just
that
see
was
Alabama
blocking.
lose as well. That added to it, but crazy play no one expected.
No one expected that at all. I actually, for a second, I thought he was going to trip over one of the linemen because someone was really close to him and he almost nicked his ankle. And I thought that would have been awful. If I was him, I would have fumbled. If I started falling and I knew I was going to, I would have just and I would have fell and I would have dropped the ball.
My honorable mention was also a game winner, and this was in the 2011 wildcard game. You had the Pittsburgh Steelers playing in Denver in the opening round of the 2011 playoffs, and you had the GOAT, Tim Tebow, sending the game to overtime. And the first play of overtime for their own 20, you had Tim Tebow hit Demaryius Thomas on the crossing route, middle of the field. I still remember the radio call. It hit the foot race for the shortest overtime game in NFL history. It lasted like 13 seconds. And yeah, Tim Tebow just ending the game at 316 yards. God bless Tim Tebow. Praise Jesus. That was nutty. Then they went on a divisional round, got beat the fuck up by the Patriots. But I had one amazing play to watch.
Yep.
It's a historical game, too.
Same thing happened for us, pretty much. The Cardinals and Broncos went through the same thing. Cardinals had a great play to Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah.
He runs down the field pretty much early. Gets stopped.
You get the shovel pass.
Yeah, then he got the shovel pass, next play scores, and then next round.
That was in the playoffs. That's at my number one spot, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So can I get your number one favorite moment of the decade?
My number one is, I think it's kind of a defining moment for a lot of fighters nowadays. And it was a big moment in UFC history. My number one is the 13-second knockout of Jose Aldo by the notorious Conor McGregor. I think, in my opinion, I think it was one of the first people to go out there, talk trash, say what he was going to do, and did it.
That fight changed the game.
It changed the game. A lot of people, because a lot of people talk trash about Conor.
That's what Conor was up there, but that's what took him to the Conor McGregor
because
levels.
A lot of people talk trash about Conor, like he's fighting nobodies, he's getting lucky, and then
13-second knockout of Jose Aldo.
Like everyone was talking about Jose's going to destroy him. Oh, he's pissing off Jose. Jose's going to eat him. There's nothing Conor can do. Conor threw one punch that fight. That fight was 1-for-1. And it was
they count that as
1-for-1
significant strike.
That's one significant strike, one knockdown into the fight.
Unreal. That moment was absolutely insane.
And Conor came out before.
Was that when he became double champ?
That was not when he became double champ. But that was going to, yeah. I think the double champ would have been my number one, but I think this skyrocket. I don't think he gets that chance without this. Obviously,
no. First title is the most important one.
First title is the most important. Even Conor himself said that first title was way more important to him than the second one.
Yeah.
And he when he first started, before he even got a title shot, he said, "We're not here to take part. We're here to take over." And I think no one else could come out and do that, because now that's a Conor thing. Yeah. You can't come out and say something like that and be like, "Oh, that's a me. I did that." Everyone's gonna be like, "You're copying Conor."
The game from fighting and from talking.
Now you have to be able to promote to get fights. You can't just be a good fighter. There's a lot of great fighters who don't get their
Justin Gaethje.
There's a lot of
pass over for a title shot if McGregor wins.
But honestly,
is stupid. But that's a different story.
But it's understandable. We'll talk about it a different day.
Yes, we will. But that is one hell of a moment, Jalen.
One hell of a moment.
My top moment of the decade came in the 2015 NFL season, and this was Peyton Manning's last season in the NFL. This is when he broke the all-time passing yards record. He broke the touchdown one in the earlier season. But Peyton Manning running out into the sunset by winning Super Bowl 50. The Broncos winning 24-10 over the 15-1 Carolina Panthers with the league MVP in Cam Newton, and they smoked them. That's what happens when the Broncos end up with one of the greatest defenses. That Broncos defense that year, arguably the second greatest defense of all time, only up there with the 85 Bears. Might have had the greatest playoff or postseason performance by any defense in NFL history. Von Miller winning the MVP. Yeah, Cam Newton getting strip sacked early in the game. That really set the tone. Then you had interceptions. You had Von Miller strip Cam Newton again. Cam Newton didn't die for that. You had then C.J. Anderson punching it in. Then Peyton Manning with his last pass of his career was a 2-point conversion to Benny Fowler in the back of the end zone, little seam route, and that. The first time I've seen the Broncos win a Super Bowl after two seasons before that, them getting blown out in Super Bowl 43-8. Unreal. I went apeshit.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck. I didn't know what to do. Seeing the Broncos finally win a Super Bowl in my lifetime with one of the greatest performances of all time, with Peyton Manning being able to retire as my third best quarterback of all time. You should go check that out. Episode 16.
Episode 16.
Episode 17 just out too. Go check it out. But that is hands down my favorite moment of the decade.
I'm still waiting for one of my teams to win a championship.
And you're going to have to wait a little longer because you're a Kings and Cardinals fan.
And I'm a Vegas Golden Knights fan.
They're probably going to be the first team.
I do have the Giants. The Giants won a couple, just a couple of.
Fuck you.
Just a couple World Series titles, which was great. Leaving. Which was great for me. Yeah, I know he's gone. He's a traitor, and he went to the Diamondbacks. So he kissed my ass now. He's a great as a Giant. I love him, but as a Diamondback, he will be destroyed.
I hope he destroys the Giants.
No, he will not.
Go A's.
Wow. Okay. We're ending on that.
Yeah, we are. But before I sign off, I just want to thank you guys so much for joining us today on our best moments of the decade. Kind of crazy we're moving into the new one already, but it's nice to be able to put this video together Perfect time to start a podcast on the last year of the decade.
Yeah,
It's good timing.
On the train to start the new decade.
Hop on the bandwagon, baby.
The next decade is our decade, not next year. The next decade is our decade.
We're not here.
in the great words of Conor McGregor, we're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
Damn right, motherfuckers. It's the Fourth and Long podcast. We're about to run shit next year. It's all good. We're about to hit 300,000 impressions on the month.
That's what
we're getting close to 1 million on Twitter. Follow us. Twitter, Fourth Long Radio, capital F, capital L, capital R.
Yep.
Going to be bigger on the Instagram. That's at Fourth and Long Radio with the 4TH and Long Radio. Check us out, y'all. Check us out on YouTube. Like and subscribe to the page. Any bit of likes on Twitter or Instagram, or views or likes on YouTube, or even subscriptions, that means so much to us, and it really helps us out. We're looking on expanding to Spotify soon, so stay tuned for some big news.
And let us know what your top 5 moments and honorable mentions of the
on
decade
Twitter
was.
or in the comments and all that stuff.
Any of our comments, Twitter. You can even DM it to us. We'll post it.
Yeah.
Just let us know what your top moments were. But we're looking to expand. We're looking to get better. Merch in the next decade. Hopefully the next year. It's looking great for us. It's looking great for you guys.
Stay tuned, everyone. Hope you all have a great New Year's, and we will catch you guys in the next decade. Dad joke, baby.
Dad joke.